A very good morning. You're watching India Today on social media. I'm Nabila Jamal, bringing you the roundup of today's news earlier in the day. Well, let me start with, of course, the rains that's lashed the national capital. Quite troublesome for people on ground, because you're looking at the national capital streets, stretches flooded, people barely able to move from one end to the other, and that's literally stalled traffic. This is the second consecutive day that we're looking at severe showers in the national capital. We do know that most parts of North India right now is receiving heavy to very heavy intense rainfall, resulting in people being displaced in most parts of North India. Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi now, the national capital, which has received much more rain than what Mumbai has received in the last 24 hours. There's an orange alert that's been sounded in Delhi. Of course, the worry is that considering that this is the highest rainfall that Delhi has received in the last 19 years, will people on ground be able to manage through these flooded roads is the question, because Delhi's infrastructure is such that currently most parts of Delhi becomes, it turns into a disaster zone, because the water comes literally waist deep. That's how severe the rains and floods really results in difficult times for people on ground. Now, while you have a situation like this playing out, you have Delhi disaster management, of course, on ground trying to pump out the water and push it out at the earliest. But 2 days on, it seems like Delhi, it's a reminder for them that they've got to ensure that infrastructure is such that the rainwater somehow manages to exit before it really floods the streets the way it does. We're looking at literally traffic coming to a grinding halt in Delhi for the last 2 days. So it's bad. It's really bad. We're looking at several areas like hospitals, you have schools, you have offices where people are barely able to reach their destinations or leave their offices. Get to one place to the other itself is a mayhem. You've literally got to keep 2 hours in advance or a buffer time for you to reach wherever you want to. And this is more or less the situation we hear most times in Delhi. When it rains, the infrastructure is exposed. So it's about time that we're hoping that the Delhi administration comes up with better infrastructure. We're talking about the national capital, and we do not want to look so bad when it comes to the capital of India. We're hoping for a quick roundabout to revamp the infrastructure. While that said, it's still, of course, worth to note that we're looking at 90% of Delhi's rains that occurred in the entire year that's happened just in the last 2 days. So it's been severe. Now we're looking at even Bihar. Like I did mention, we saw the collapse of the Jafrabad embankment that led to several villages along the schools and hospitals that are completely submerged underwater. And we have our reporter on ground there, and the visuals and the images that he brings us really heartbreaking, because you have people there still getting to work, literally with knee-deep water, sitting on their tables and working. At hospitals, you have hospitals there where people are still working. You have companies with all their equipment and electronic goods that they've kept on top of tables. I mean, we're looking at severe weather conditions, no doubt, but most of these places usually get flooded when it rains. So is this a wake-up call for India, many of the state governments, to really do something and ensure that it doesn't really ruin people's livelihood? One heavy bout of rain and you have villages wiped out. Is there a way to counter and confront this situation that happens year on year? We're really hoping that it does. Taxpayers' money can be used and directed in the right direction. Hopefully, we'll be happy to help if at all. Let me quickly take you through Allahabad High Court. Today has made a very, very important and an interesting judgment as such. The Allahabad High Court has said that cows must be given the status of a national animal. Well, this of course has made the BJP rejoice. They've welcomed the move, saying this is absolutely what we should be doing. Furthermore, the court has made an appeal to the centre, saying that this matter should be taken up in the parliament. It must be discussed, and also that cows must be given fundamental rights as it's part of Indian culture. This is what the Allahabad High Court has said. Now you have Justice Shekhar Kumar Yadav, who is a single judge bench here, who said that India will prosper only if cow is a revered animal in the country. well, this, of course, the verdict has now quite naturally sparked a political row. You have BJP lauding the Allahabad High Court's verdict, and on the other hand, you have Samajwadi Party condemning it, calling this, saying that, BJP in the first place does not do anything to uplift cows. In the first place, you have cattle roaming around and barely anything is done to ensure their safety. But now they're looking to push for cow to be the national animal. How does that really work? On one hand, you don't have shelters for cow. They're loitering on the streets, barely without any food, and here they're looking to give them special status. So this is what the Samajwadi Party has said in terms of this rule. Of course, now you have a lot of opposition coming in the way on this Allahabad High Court's judgment. Now, let me take you through Afghanistan, which currently is a war-torn zone, and we have serious concerns that this may become a land for where terror will breed. And India, of course, being the closest neighbor, is worried, of course, that Afghanistan terrorists there might use Afghanistan soil to attack India. That's the fear that's been on since time immemorial, because we do know how Al-Qaeda has been harbored by the Taliban, and now with Taliban in complete control, we literally dread to expect what's in store. But nonetheless, Pakistan, who's always and often denied that they have no links with the Taliban, today almost their nexus was exposed, because Pakistan's Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid has very clearly said that many members of the Taliban have born, they've raised, they've studied in Pakistan. So he says that interpreting his conversation that he spoke on a local Pakistani channel, he said that we're almost the custodians of the Taliban. They've studied under us, we've fed them, they've educated them, and almost become their custodians in a way. So this, of course, has literally exposed Pakistan's lies. They constantly say they have nothing to do with the Taliban, and you have many people in Pakistan, including the Interior Minister himself, who says that they have a big role to play when it comes to the Taliban and how they've been nurtured. So it's an open secret that the Taliban was literally grew on the soil of Pakistan. So they're not just that, they've also been funded indirectly, subtly by Pakistan, is what various international news agencies tell us. Well, this, of course, is now given us a lot more reason to worry, because we're looking at Pakistan. India always looks at Pakistan as an enemy nation, and now you have Afghanistan in Taliban's control. Both of them coming together might only mean threat to India. Now, let me take you through Panjshir, which is one of the only long-standing province in Afghanistan which has not given into the hands of the Taliban so easy. Of course, the struggle and the fight is still on. Even as we speak, we heard that there are clashes between the Taliban and people of Panjshir, who, in fact, Panjshir is where the resistance front is currently strong and has gained ground. They have, of course, really fought and resisted the Taliban's interference, and they've put up a tough fight. According to Panjshir's Northern Alliance, or the resistance front, they say they've managed to kill about 115 Talibanis. So Taliban, on the other hand, says this is not true, that the negotiation with the Northern Alliance or the Resistance Front representatives still on. It hasn't come through as yet. There's no conclusion on the discussions between the two, but this conversation is still on with them. Taliban says that they have literally cornered Panjshir from all corners of the province. While Taliban keeps a very confident front, you have the Panjshir, the Resistance Front there very clearly saying that they are fighting back, and they've managed to kill 115 Talibanis, and also that they have captured 55 of them and injured 200 Talibans. So, well, this is the information that we get, but we do know that it's all hazy, it's all sketchy information that we're getting from Afghanistan. But India Today definitely giving you the most credible news, as we are the only channel on ground, only Indian channel on ground in Pak-backed Afghanistan, if we could call this, entirely that's currently in the hands of Taliban. So we're bringing you all those credible reports, but for now we hear that Panjshir spokesperson has said they managed to kill 115 Talibanis in Panjshir. well, Taliban says that's not true and that they've captured Panjshir from all four corners. Now, quickly on CBI, with regards to Maharashtra, the corruption allegations against former Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, the CBI has today arrested one of its own officers in connection with leakage of some documents of an internal probe with regards to Anil Deshmukh and the corruption charges against him. This constable of the CBI, Abhishek Tiwari, beg your pardon, he's a sub-inspector. He's a sub-inspector ranked officer of the CBI. He was arrested after he allegedly accepted illegal gratification in whatever form, possibly money, that he's accepted from people close to Anil Deshmukh. In fact, Tiwari was allegedly in touch with the lawyer of Anil Deshmukh, and from what we hear, as per sources, that he may have shared information of the CBI internal probe on Anil Deshmukh. And he was, in fact, even the lawyer of Anil Deshmukh, we believe, has been questioned. Anil Deshmukh's son-in-law is also another person who's been questioned, but he was let go by the CBI a few hours later. Now, we're looking at this document that was leaked, 65-page leaked document that suggested that CBI's investigative officer had given a clean chit to Anil Deshmukh in this corruption case and recommended the closure of preliminary inquiry. So this is huge because we do know that Anil Deshmukh has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate multiple times to respond to the allegations of money laundering, etc. He hasn't appeared. He's just said that he's not well. There's something or the other, many reasons that have been coming out, that at least what he's offered to the ED. But here's the CBI investigation that's also probing into corruption allegations of Anil Deshmukh, and somehow it appears that they've managed to give him a clean sheet as per the leaked documents. Now, CBI has countered this, saying that it's false and this is not true, and investigation is still on. Now, on the other hand, Punjab, as the state goes into polls in barely 7 months' time, we're looking at Punjab, both the camps, Amrinder Singh's camp and Navjot Singh Sidhu's camp, their power tussle only intensifying. In the latest, the Punjab Congress chief Navjot Singh Sidhu came to Delhi, to the national capital. He wanted to meet with Priyanka Gandhi, but it appears that he's been snubbed. He did not get an appointment with her, so he had to go back to Punjab. And of course, this comes right after he reportedly refused to join Harish Rawat. Harish Rawat is a Punjab in charge of the Congress. He refused to join him when he was meeting with the Chief Minister, Captain Amrinder Singh. But Harish Rawat, of course, tried to coax him, saying that, listen, you've got to be a team player here. You've got to act like a party member. You've got to ensure that the party comes together and ensures victory for the upcoming polls. So you've got to work for the party, especially ahead of elections, barely a few months away. But Sidhu, on the other hand, even though he's been elevated as per his demands to the post of Congress president in Punjab, he still seems unsatisfied. He still claims that he's not been given enough powers. He's a toothless head, toothless chief. These are the kind of claims that he makes. While on the other hand, you have the Punjab Congress, many of the members saying that Navjot Singh Sidhu has enough and more power to make decisions. Even Harish Rawat said the same. But nonetheless, Sidhu has been attacking the Congress left, right and center, saying that he will not spare the party members if he is not given the free hand to make decisions. He's also quite disappointed with an 18-point action plan that was decided by a 3-member committee, where maybe he did not have much of a say in it. So Sidhu, of course, quite a sour grape right now. He's, of course, very upset, but it remains to be seen how Congress really handles this crisis. It's unfortunate that there are barely few states of the Congress party and somehow they're not able to get their house in order. Maybe if they get a real president for once, they could. Well, on a final note, we're looking at pro-Pakistan Kashmiri separatist leader Syed Ali Shah Jilani, who has been, he was laid to rest this morning. He breathed his last just yesterday in Srinagar, and he's been a long-standing supporter of the. He's a separatist group leader. There's enough and more talks about how he's been backed, and his movement has been backed by Pakistan's terror groups. He was 92 years old, a hardliner Islamist leader, and he's been backed as per reports extensively by terror groups coming from Pakistan and demanding for a separate Kashmir. So here he's passed away, and in light of this, security has been beefed up in Jammu and Kashmir following his death. Internet services have been snapped, and there's restriction of movement across Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, meanwhile, you have PDP leader Mehbooba Mufti, NC leader Omar Abdullah giving out their condolences. You also have Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan expressing his condolences on on Gilani's demise. On a final note, I'll wrap with some sports news here. Cristiano Ronaldo breaks his all-time record, breaks all records in fact, breaks even Ali Day's record for scoring the most number of international goals in men's football as his team wins against Ireland in the run-up to the World Cup. So congrats to him. On that note, thank you for watching.